Hey people, I'm fixing to bust on a bunch of Waldos. I had run into this 420 holiday in the Old Testament, and so I thought I'd look up and see where they say it come from. And they're claiming it come from 1971. 1971, 5 high school students were searching for abandoned cannabis crop. And so they called themselves the Waldos because their typical hangout spot was a wall outside the school. And so, there's some truth in this, but that's a big old lie. And they are Waldos. This dictionary interpretation for Waldo has got this right. It's a manipulator. But a Waldo is a claim jumper. A Waldo is somebody who steals something that they know that can't be reported. Somebody who steals drugs, you can't, if it's illegal drugs, you can't call in and report it. Somebody who steals illegal guns that you can't report is a Waldo. And it come from the wall, do. And it come from the writings on the wall that were secret. And nobody was supposed to know what they meant. And you knew, you didn't know what they meant, but you knew it was secret. And so you had laid claims to it, and you had laid claims of knowing what it was written about, and it was about your bloodline, and you were the king. So y'all don't want to miss my next movie that got me searching this, but it's the real origin of the 420 and what it really means. So I found this cool poem about Vikings in the Old Testament. And Waldo's claimed it's Abraham rescues Lot. But I found this word Vikings one more time, and it's actually written backwards, comes after this tax, so it reads backwards, V-I-N, V-I-K-I-N. And so I found this word hyphen in Genesis 5 too, and it caused me to look it up. And they say it come from the ancient Greek, and it was just spelled U-Q and then E-N. And so you'll see in the Greek, every time a word will start with a B, and the opposite side in the Greek they'll just start it with an E-N. So the E-N replaces the B, meaning in. And the U-F, is, and you look in the ancient letter meaning chart, U is to connect and Q is center. To connect the center in. So you could spell this with a U-Q-B. Would also be a correct spelling of hyphen. And so they got the rest of the interpretation wrong, but yeah, to the center in. So if a word comes after attack, it means that that's the center in. And to make this the center, to make this L the center, you would put this T-U-L-U-T. And so it's not lot, but it's to loot. And so the original Waldos are here, and it's the ovaries, O-V-R-Y. And you can see here it's ha is the, and then I-V-R-I. And somebody told me a couple weeks ago that the O pronounces I, is in, well, that would make this ivory then. It's still not Hebrew. And we can look, just one word down and see this O used here, and now it's Asar, pronounces A, which sometimes we pronounce the O as a A in English. And they'll give this O, the A and the E and the I. But if we was to believe that, the God of the Most High would be alien, instead of holy one. Makes a lot more sense that O would be pronounced as a O. But this poem is about Viking sailors, and you can see here it talks about the Brit in Rit, and it talks about the Vikings and the ovaries, which they claim to be Hebrews. But you can see the real Hebrew is here, the B-R-I-T. And if you look at the word of the Hebrew language, it's spelled B-R-I-T, O-V-R-I-T, of Rit, O-V, this is a V, O-V-R-I-T. And it means of writ. And that's the language of Hebrew, is of writ. There is no such thing as Hebrew. So this poem, it starts with wife. And the last chapters I was reading in Ezekiel, this wife, they always use it the same as W-I-Q-H, wife. And it means, and he took most of the time. But yeah, this word, they've got it spelled 200 different ways. This is one of the biggest words in there. Went, came, and has all kind of meanings. At least 200 different spellings. And it's because the Hebrews don't know how to read this. Maybe even more than 200. That's a lot. But it's pronounced either Y-N-Y, meaning who or how in, or wive, W-I-V-A, wive, who in power is the wife. And so, wive, the plight, the plight on the run to escape from. The wife, the plight, who good, why good, G-D, good. Who good lover is. It's not a B, it's a V here. And the final M is an S. It's not an M. Looks like an S. It pronounces an S. It's only an M if it's got a tack in front of it and read backwards. The wife, the plight, who good lover is the ovary. When you make her ovary scream, you gonna be on the run, because she's gonna be chasing you. She'll be wanting you all the time. But this is sailors, Wife the plight, who good lover ovary. And who sacking bawling memory, the amora, the love, to remember the love. And who sack in is shacking. This SK is dwelt, the shacking, the sacking, succubus, it all comes from the same word, SK. Who's shacking, bawling, remember the amore, remember the love. Both these words read backwards, start with an A, so it's itch elixir, watch it honor, vess is to fill, like a vessel, to vess is to fill. The vessel is the thing getting filled, the fill of the vessel. And so to each elixir, watch ye honor vest. They're watching, sitting at the bar, watching them fill your elixir. That's what sailors do. They get in port, they go drink. In holy be, in holy, in writ, more of, in rest. In the holy, in writ, in the holy books, in the writ, more in of rest. We've written more of the holy books than the rest of them. And it's playing on words, more in. When the ship pulls into port, the longer you've been on the water, the more ports that you have moored in. To more in holy and writ, more in of rest. In the log books, you got more in the rest. You done pulled into more ports than the rest of them. You're an old-time sailor, been doing it a while. Who some see, more in kins be. And you got a lot of kinfolk. It's the Vikings. Who some see, more in kins be. Which who rough to Viking on Nike, will handy in it to summon. Backwards, which who rough, RQ, rough, RPH, who rough, To the Viking, backwards and forwards, Vikin, his trained servants. The Viking on Nike. Nike is ancient Greek for victory. The god of victory was Nike. Who rough to Viking on Nike, and the vav goes to the next word. They do that often when they separate a word with a tack. Will handy. The yod ID is the hand, so it's W-I-L and then yoddy. Will handy in it too. And it too is bitumen. Bitumen. Bitumen is asphalt. It's what you use to seal up your boat. Old salty sailors, they're going to know where to summon up some bit to. And so it actually comes, the ancient word was just it too, is what became bitumen, and it means be in it too. And it too is a really sticky substance. It's that black roofing tar. And anything it touches, it's it too. It's stuck to it. And in it too, bitumen. And so, he's the Viking on victory, will handy in it to summon, and he will find some bitumen. He will seal up the boat. We find, sometimes you can just find it floating out there in the ocean. You'll find chunks of bitumen. You heat it up and patch your boat up with it. And so this is the word that I was chasing when I found this, and it's not used often. It's used a bunch of times. Here in this Genesis 5, everybody had lived 800 years in it, and you can see it better here in this, to summon from out, and the signs to summon from out. Everybody here in Genesis 5, they all lived 800 years. It's actually talking about the clock, and how the clock, and that's why Enoch and Enoch walked with God, and after that it changes up, and they talk about how the clock got off, and that's why in Genesis 6 becomes the flood, and they rebuild the boat. They don't build a new boat; they rebuild the old boat. But yeah, the 8 is the old star of the 8. Those were the magicians, the 8, the summon. In it to summon, and they would summon up the spirits, and that's what it was talking about there in Genesis 5. In it to summon, as rustles from out the word pardoned in. They're rude old sailors, and they just kind of push out of the way, and they don't say, oh, pardon me, or excuse me. The word pardoned in. Who hath all eyes, from Hilo fly, to Lily, who of two of dew. Wix the word facade, have which of hears, from small lead musque. Who half, is HLF is half. The H is divide, L of, and Q is center. And divide of center means half. Who half all eyes? They cover one of their eyes. All the pirates cover one eye, so when they, come out of the light and go into the dark, they can see where they're going. And then backwards after the line, from halo, from high low fly. This is halo. It's the first day after a new moon, when you just get a little bitty crescent showing. First night after a new moon. From half all eyes, from halo fly to lily. Lily is not the night, lily is the moon. To lily, who to of dew, flying it to our God Lily. To lily who two of do. Wick's word facade. Facade is the Wick's word facade is the language is all in flags. They wick is to raise something, wick, to wick it up out of. The Wick's word, W-I-R-D, the word facade, P-S-O-D, facade, of which of ears, from small lead muskew. From a small lead muskew. It's musket, but they're trying to rhyme this muskew with this two of do. Who hath all eyes, from halo fly to lily who two of do. Wick's the word facade, have which of hears, from small lead muskew. Who sieve to? So he brought back, who receives. Who sieve to? Who receives? Who sieve to cause care the ruckus. He receives from the cause in care of ruckus. We're going to fight for it. Who goes to the lute, which works to the sheave. It works to the sheave. The sheave, that's your knife. And goes to mission, backwards and forwards. M-I-S-H-N, the mission on seas. What M-O has. Not the people, but that type of person, the modus operandum of life to see from, of that type of person, his M.O. So anybody who claims to be an ovary, they're actually just a Waldo. And they seen that, the people are trying to hide these writings, and so they weren't going to get called out on it, because they were claiming stolen goods. They're a Waldo would be if I was to not tell you where I was getting this poetry, and claim that I wrote it myself. But I'm not intelligent enough to write this poetry. I can almost read it, but I promise you I don't write poetry. Bunch of Waldos. All right, good day.